Welcome to Romera Records virtual cast. Today we have on Joseph Lumpkin. How's it going, Joseph?
It's good. It's good. How are you, Jackson?
I'm doing well. I would explain what Joseph has done in his life, but that would take like 6 podcasts. If you would, please feel free to, I guess, just give people like a lowdown of the many things you've done. We were just talking about your job as a coroner, and then also, if people don't know, good time to plug. I have an audiobook from one of Joseph's books, The Negro Bible, the Slave Bible. Select parts of the Holy Bible for the use of the la 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 la.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
whole title. Long.
You want a quick rundown on that one before we start? Okay, so in 1807, that Bible was published, and we had slaves in the West Indies because that's part of the title used for the slaves in the West Indies. And of course, that's a British Commonwealth was at the time. And Mr. Bilby Porteous was the Anglican priest at the time in Chester and then London. And he was concerned about the conversion of the slaves. But they didn't want to present the whole Bible to them because that would give them hope. So what they did with the slave owners, the missionaries, and Mr. Porteous, they went in and they culled the Bible from 1,189 chapters down to 232 chapters. They took away all of the references to, for example, Exodus, where the slaves were revolted and escaped and went free. Anything like that. If you had slavery and freedom, it was cut out. If you had not obeying the master or whatever, that was cut out. What was left was this book that you narrated so brilliantly, and which the cells are nice. Thank you so much. And so what we had was one of the most controlled narratives in the world at the time, because they wanted to save the souls of the slaves without giving them the entire package, which actually, it's like fight for your freedom, set the captives free. All of that was cut out. So that's the Bible. So I wrote the introduction, you did the narration, and we're both happy.
So, I've noticed many of your books are pretty much like that. You've got this introduction where you're basically giving people the lowdown on the book and like the original rights. Is that something, like, I guess when you first started, doing books, you were like, I want to do research on this topic and let people know about these original works so they're not lost?
Right. Well, I'm really old, and that means I've done a lot of stuff. And so I was working on an advanced degree while I was working with the military on the hypersonic missile technology project in Huntsville. I was an analyst for them. And they didn't need me too often. I had to sit in the chair all the time, just, be there, in case. But it gave me a lot of time, hours of boredom, moments of terror, as I said. And so when I had hours of boredom, I had the great luck of having my best friend was a chancellor at one of the colleges, seminary in Mississippi. And he called me up and he said, we are starting a program, somewhat online, somewhat by mail. It's going to be a hybrid remote program. And so that's what began that. Hey, Bray.
Is the man, the myth, the legend showed up?
Yes, he has. I didn't know he was coming over here.
Oh, it's all right. Thanks, you.
Yeah. So anyway, I ran across this this quote in Jude that said, He'll come back with 10,000 of his saints to exact vengeance, and it said, "See First EN." And I didn't know what that was because in seminary you're indoctrinated, not educated. So I'm gonna swing this over here. Here you go. I don't know if we can do this right now with 2 hours. We'll figure it out. Yep. Push it back. There we go. All
there
right.
we go.
I'll lean it in a little bit.
So everybody, if you can't tell just by looking at the faces, Breandan Lumpkin has joined.
Yeah. I don't know if we can do this. Yeah, I'm going to pull the plug in. Yeah, let's see if we can do this. All right, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, great. Let me turn it up here.
Oh, I've lost you. Oh, there you
Hello,
go.
test.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I've got you.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
We can hear you.
Oh.
Okay, let's see here. Speaker's not working. I can sit down. This will do the thing.
I can't hear you. Okay, I can hear you.
You can? Okay, good. I'm going to try to do this.
Oh, share that phone. Cool.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
Great, okay. Oh, wow. Okay.
Cool. All right. Zoom will not stop us.
I can take that over here. Sorry, you're going to have some editing to do.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, yeah. We now have Joseph and Breandan Lumpkin. I'm not sure which one is going to have the crazier stories, but Joseph has some years on Breandan, so.
I don't know. I was pretty sedate when I was his age, so he may one up me. I don't know. Yeah, I've had guns pulled on me just once or twice, so. But in any case, to finish the first story, it said "See First EN," and that was the first book of Enoch, and I got a hold of it because I've never heard of it, and I came home and said, "Lynn, this translation absolutely sucks," and so we started out with doing that translation, which actually went to number 300 on Amazon. If you can imagine, 300 out of 8 million books, I was fairly happy.
That's crazy.
And that started the career. We just kept pushing those books, and what we would do is we would take the source material, we would render it into modern English, write the forward and the explanations and commentary, and put it out there. And we've got 3 bestsellers right now.
So were you saying that was your first book, or what was your first book?
Yeah, the first book was the first book of Enoch.
Okay, that's a pretty pretty wild heavy. First book.
Yeah, that was written in Ge'ez, which is an ancient language in Ethiopia. So, and then we did the lost books of the Bible and banned from the Bible. Yeah, those are all ours, and yeah, it's been a good life.
So when you decide to do the books, do you ever get nervous about like not being able to get the information that you want? Like, I'm sure I would be nervous about that. Like, oh snap, there's not enough info out there.
The only time I've really had that was the 3rd book of Enoch, which I found a copy of in the Chicago Library of all places.
Hmm.
I could not find it any place else on the planet, but I found a copy in the Chicago Library, and so we started with that. But yeah, I don't start unless I have the material. I'll get an idea of, if this book needs to be put out, needs to be saved, and so we'll start the project. And normally the information is out there. You can go to the Dead Sea Scrolls online, and you actually see the original, photocopies of the original text, and then you pull in what everybody else has done, and you study that, and you do your rendering, your translation.
So when you were saying that translation sucks, I think about all the translations from all the different, versions of the Bible. What do you think about how that has changed over time? And do you think that it's been good or bad for the, I guess, digestion of people to understand, the original works?
It's a great question. So here's how old I am. In the 70s, the Bible was interpolated. I'll use that word, because it wasn't even a translation, it was an interpretation. The King James, which itself, of course, is an interpretation of the Textus Receptus, was redone in a Bible called the Good News for Modern Man. And that was the first Bible that the hippies used, that Bible the movement at that time that ended up producing things like Jesus Christ Superstar and Joseph and the Technicolor Raincoat.
Okay.
All of those came out of a movement of the Jesus Freaks movement, which was a hippie movement using Good News for Modern Man. Now, so you have, is it accessible to the modern reader? And the more accessible it is, the more interpreted it tends to be, because if you go the farther back into the languages you go, the more nuances you get. And the Amplified Bible is a perfect example. It doesn't read very well at all, but it gives you more than, say, the King James does as far as the meaning of the word. So you're kind of balancing all of this out, and we try to balance it out to where it maintains the spirit of the word and the message, but still be accessible to the modern reader.
This is actually a question for Bray. So, knowing all the kinds of translations that your dad has done, and basically just retelling the information, I know you've always been a type of person where you like knowing the source of stuff and you like the information, but how much of it does it seem like it might just be too much? It's like, I don't know, maybe it could get maybe boring, or do you feel like I need to know all this to help me understand all of this?
I mean, I don't think that I dig in the same way he does. It doesn't bother me to not know the religious things, as far as their source and all that. But I think it definitely made me a skeptic in general. It made me just think in that manner.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I've always, even in school, I remember in grade school, people like, Jimmy did this. I'm like, did Jimmy do that? Who told you? What's your source?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the real issue with all religions is what's the source, that's why people become skeptical in the first place, is what's going on here? What are we really doing? And
religions evolve, they don't just pop out of nowhere.
Yeah.
One theory says that Jesus never ever intended to make his own movement. He was just trying to reform Judaism. And so, yeah, Breandan's been exposed to a lot of this. I'm sorry.
Do you think that's been, I guess, good for your spiritual health, I guess, to have grown up in a household that was exposed to so much? In the South, everybody's like, you got your strict Baptists and your strict Methodists and stuff like that. But with your dad, you kind of got exposed to more knowledge than most people were used to.
Oh, for sure. It was different. You could tell our family was a little different than most of them around here. I'm sure you could probably say that, but
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it like being in finance now, it pisses people off because they've been in it 35 years, and you ask, yeah, where's your source? Where'd you get this? And like, that's always the answer. I've been in this 35 years. Like, okay, that's nice. but but yeah, I mean, it's just the general thought process. I think you just kind of take on.
Everything goes back, whether you're doing finance or biblical research, it always goes back to, well, that's the way we've always done it.
Mm.
And yeah, but why? Why? There's a story about a lady who cooks a ham, and she always takes the ends of the ham and cuts them off before she puts them in her oven. And she's always done it that way because Mama did it that way.
Mm.
And then somebody was questioning her, why do you do it like that? And well, Mama always did. Well, why did Mama do it? Well, she went back and asked Mama. It was because her oven was not big enough at that time. There's no need to do that anymore, but we carry on these things. And, we do that in our church, and well, we do it in life. We do it in finance. It's what we're used to. We are programmed.
So you think we're in a simulation is what you're saying.
I won't go that far, but it's possible. This could be a hologram.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you said that, I thought about like my mom. Whenever she would cook bologna, she would like cut 2 slits on the edge of the bologna. When I was a kid, I had no idea why. But honestly, I still don't kind of know why. Like, I haven't cooked bologna in a while, but maybe because it bubbles, like bologna like bubbles up. Maybe she did it for that reason. But I have to ask Mom why she did it.
Yeah. Well, if you're talking about a slice of bologna, they used to do that because it would bubble, and in the center of it, because it would bubble up, crinkle, it wouldn't get cooked good in the middle. So they would cut like a little pie slit out of it, and it would make it lay flat.
That's
so there you go.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like as humans, like everybody, they play the telephone game. So whenever you hear a story, it just keeps going, and it just changes over time, and that's a big problem with religion and how that's gone. Like everybody just tells story from pastor to pastor to pastor, and everybody's in the same church their whole life, and that's just how things go.
This may really piss some of your viewers off, your listeners, but that's what happened to our scripture. It's copied and it's copied and it's copied. So you can actually track this back to like families. It looks like a family tree when you do it this way. Things have been added, taken away, so on and so forth. Most of the time they're added. For example, for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Wasn't there at all in the oldest witnesses. The last part of Mark, we know that Mark was destroyed because the last part of Mark doesn't even belong there. It had a different ending than people drinking poison and picking up snakes and all of that stuff. It preaches really well, but that's why people in Sand Mountain always get snake bit, because they're handling snakes because they think they're following the scriptures, and it wasn't there to begin with. So you have drift. You have just like the telephone you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, it just happens. That's just nature, and as you said, like people, that's how we always did it. So that's people just continue to keep it rolling, and they just don't know why. And I think they say that. I guess I don't know if it would be like mine and Bray's generation or what, but kids in general, they always ask why, and then they say that there's a certain generation, it's like a Y generation, and some people view that as a bad thing, but I think it's a good thing. Like as kids, you're borderline scientists, like you're always trying to figure out stuff, and people look down upon that, but that's good. Like you should be trying to find out, so investigate to gain knowledge and gain wisdom, and to just have more understanding, because when you stop asking why or stop asking how, you lose that sense of understanding.
Breandan has ticked off a few parents when they would pass a church, and you would go, see that steeple? That's a phallic symbol, and it came from.
It is though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do it just to make the conservative parents mad.
But it's true, man.
Explain that.
Well, it came from the worshipers at the time that the church was being grown and created, and so they would have they would worship a phallus, a penis.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's like Easter eggs all through the religion. If you go back, like from where we were dying out at certain times, we'd have to take in, I'm spacing the word right now. Pagan, pagans, anybody who's not us. And so you have the Easter bunny, you got Santa Claus, you got penises on top of our church, but
Yeah.
there's all these little Easter eggs if you look around.
Yeah, Easter eggs and rabbits and phallic symbols. They're all from the same kind of worship, and procreation and children and sex have always been part of a religious mixture of paganism. When we take all those things in, they used to worship the sun, which is where we get the halo. And so they incorporate all this. Sun worshippers, no problem. At the time of Constantine, they were a major part of the population. So we used to worship on Saturday, but we worship now on Sunday because they made that for the sun worshippers Sunday. The halo and all of that was incorporated in Constantine's time because he was bringing all these religions together, and he wanted to make everyone Christian, but he wanted to keep everyone, marching to the same drum. And so he would take the parts of their religion that made them comfortable, and they incorporated them, and then here we are. When I say him, it's not only Constantine, it was the church at the time.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did not know that. But yeah, I'd heard about, the Sabbath was actually like a Saturday, and then it got, I guess over time progressively moved to a Sunday. Yeah, there's a many different things that I think, as we've been talking about this whole time, it just changes over time, and, we have to adjust, and maybe something like COVID is going to have such an impact on how we just do things in general. Like I couldn't imagine being a kid in high school right now, having to wear a mask all day. Like, I can see right now, like when we were in high school, like kids wouldn't be cooperating with that, but I can't imagine kids now.
I mean, it's adults who won't cooperate. Why do we think our kids will?
That is 100% true. And what I think is funny is, I've never been big into politics whatsoever. And just recently is when I started like learning more about it. And I think it's comical finding out how people act based off of their politics. Like I think they talk about like, more Republican people don't want to wear a mask and don't want to get vaccinated, but then like Democratic people are like, you need to wear your mask and you need to get vaccinated and all this stuff. And I'm just like, that's so great. I didn't know that was a thing, that your attitude and your actions were related to your politics. That's funny to me.
It's probably the other way around. They've actually shown, some brain scans have shown differences in how liberals and conservatives actually think. And, there's actually marked differences. So I had an argument with a lady yesterday in CVS, and she was wearing a mask, and she said, "Where's your mask?" And I said, "Well, I've been vaccinated, haven't you?" And she said, "Yes, but where's your mask?" And I said, "I'm not wearing one." And she said, "Well, you're putting me in danger." And I said, "Does your vaccine not work?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "So mine works too?" And she said, "Yes, but I'm in danger." And I said, "You know what you are? You're a Democrat." And she said, "Yes, I am." So
Oh my goodness.
I can't get my head around how they think, and they can't get their head around how I think. We had a Trump rally here yesterday, by the way.
Oh, did we?
Coleman, Alabama.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Oh my goodness. Nothing but asses and elbows for acres. Acres and acres. A friend of mine was a volunteer. Yeah.
Sure, it takes to be sane.
And the whole thing about Trump is that the guy didn't do anything crazy except for be himself. Like he was himself.
He's a great point about what we're talking about, that you can make people mad by asking, specific questions or saying specific things that they don't like. He's a case study.
Yeah, for sure. But as much as he did stuff that I didn't like and he did stuff that I did like, he was what America needed at that point in time. Like, America needed something just different, something that was just going to throw everybody off and not have a clue what they were going to get the next day. Like, it was perfect.
Wish to God I could have taken his cell phone and just crushed it, but stay the hell off of Twitter, my God. But yeah, I mean, I miss the $1.86 a gallon gas. I miss the fact that our shelves are no longer full and our supply chain's broken, and all of that. I truly miss the old days when I could go in and be sure that I was going to get a loaf of bread. It's looking a whole lot like the Eastern Bloc out here right now.
And another thing, learning more about politics and stuff is, people talk about wanting socialism or not wanting it. And COVID was perfect for this, because as soon as they started saying, oh, we got a shortage on toilet paper or whatever, everybody ran for the toilet paper and got all of it. And I was just like, that shows you what people are going to do in a time of panic. They're going to look out for themselves. They're not going to worry about everybody else. Oh, you need food? Sorry, I got it all.
Exactly. We're just not ready. We're not that good yet.
No, we're not. We're not. Communism works if the human spirit is absolutely perfect. If there's no greed and there's no tyranny, and you really can share, to each according to its need and from each according to its ability. You could actually institute that, it would be wonderful. But it ain't going to happen. Not in this millennia. We are not that evolved yet. There was an evolutionary jump in religion called the First Axial Age. And it happened around the time of Lao Tzu and Buddha, and Jesus was on the end of that age. And some think that he was actually past the age, but before Jesus, there was Zoroaster and Lao Tzu and Buddha and all of these people who were presenting these phenomenal ideas, because before then, religion had been external. You kill something to appease a god, and you don't quite know what he wants, and you make this stuff up, and then it became internal. You're seeking God within, like the Book of Thomas says, God, the heaven is within. And so what we have right now on Earth, in my opinion, is we have war between the pre and post axial ages. If you look at what's happening, like for example, in Islam, that still they still have that external type of stance of religion. We're going to kill a goat or a sheep or whatever, and we're going to do all of these things to please Allah. Although there is a Sufi component in that, which is an internal philosophical part of their religion, most of that type of religion is external, and so you have the external pre-axial age fighting the internal post-axial age, and to me, that's the world right now. Are you good enough, as Breandan says? Are you going to be good enough to think about your fellow man and look inside and see your problems, or not? Or you're going to go, yeah, you're not wearing your burqa, so I'm going to take your head off.
Yeah, I
not.
mean, there's just like usually a cycle, and in humans we end up reverting back to things that have happened many years ago. We all know, like, Book of Revelations, whether you believe the Bible or not, it things that are said in Revelation will be happening and at this time period, and it's like, yay, it just is. Like, whether whether you believe it or not, it just is. Like, things said then are being done now, and that's just, human nature. We end up revolving around, whatever our beliefs or whatever our actions, like our attitudes, uh, they come full circle. And if we continue to, I think if we just continue to just dive into our thoughts and dive into, what are we actually doing? Like, what is our mission? And they say, like, um, some people are just born to just be progressive, like Elon Musk or a Jeff Bezos. Like, they're just like, why are they trying to go to space? Like, they've got so much money, they could be doing anything they want to. What are you actually doing? So when I think if people, if we have these anomalies as humans, and if we get out of these cycles, then, we might not repeat, what we've done in the past, or who knows, it might just be inevitable. I don't know.
I don't know.
I think you did hit on something there, though. But yeah, I think for the most part, we are just recreations, little mini clones of our parents, pretty much. And you have that redheaded stepchild every now and again, which is exactly what we need, because there wasn't an Elon Musk last generation. I
Yeah.
don't know what he came out of, but it wasn't anything like him. I know that. But yeah, it is interesting to see.
And like what I was, joking about simulation type stuff. Like, if you just have enough occurrences, so, enough people being born, in, South Africa, or enough people being born in Chad, or enough people being born in Russia, like, you just end up with these interactions amongst humans. So, who knows if Joseph Lumpkin, if he didn't meet so and so when he was 20, and then didn't run into so and so when he was 30, would he have done what he's done in his lifetime? And would we even have another Joseph Lumpkin 100 years from now? It just takes so many interactions between random people in random situations, and we just get things like, imagine if Elon Musk's parents never met each other. Like, the things that have to happen are astronomically crazy for us to be where we're at, as humans. Like, how did we get to this point? And it's just that kind of stuff just blows my mind.
Yeah, well, you can thank my ex-wife for what I am.
Hey,
Amy's goods.
it's absolutely, like, good or bad, those interactions. I'm a type of person who, like, if I could, I'd change a lot of stuff about what I've done in my past. But, it's,
Yeah, but it does lead you here, and I mean, I've had a phenomenal life. I've created a martial arts style. I've written over 30 books. I've got 3 on bestseller list right now. I've got a great family. I've got intelligent, driven children. I've got a wife who says, "Well, darling, just don't kill yourself. Go do what you want to do." And and so I've got, um, as my father said before he died, we have come in for a soft landing.
mm,
And a lot of people can't say that. When when President Obama shut down the defense industry, and I came home and told my family that in 2 weeks we would not have income, um, life looked pretty bleak. But we in this family, the males in this family, are just ridiculously driven, and it pisses us off to have things like that happen. So we doubled down. I wrote 20 hours a day for about a year to get the company started, um, and it worked. but it wouldn't have worked because I wouldn't have done it if I didn't have to.
Hmm.
Yeah, I hear that.
Yeah.
You test you would never test yourself like life will test you, just because it's like, I can't get through that. Oh yeah, you can.
Yeah. And I'd heard this quote about you know, most people will never reach their potential. And it's just so true, and it's because um you know, we just get so to everything, as you said, a soft landing. Like, I think we don't have enough situations that create an environment for us to have to perform at our peak or at our potential. And, you know, it might be situations like you said, like you lost your job and now it's time to go do like go do what you really need to do to survive. And you know, sometimes that survival instinct needs to kick in, and that's when you perform your best. You know, even stuff like people say they perform better when they're hungry, and maybe it's the mind is stimulated, like, hey, we're hungry, we need to survive, let's perform the best we can to make sure we eat. And that's sometimes it just takes that much for people to do well. Like, you know, Bray knows within like sports, it can be that way. Like your back's against the
Yeah.
wall, and now it's time to time to
Yeah.
fight.
I used to, like, you always used to say like never say die. It
Yeah,
always made me laugh because like I felt like, you know, I don't know, just how it came up, kind of felt like a Goonies, kind of like ragtag group. It's like, we're gonna get it done. It don't matter.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't think that this generation puts itself in positions to test itself like the last, certainly not like the greatest generation, my grandfather's generation. You know, I was raised in martial arts. You know, I mean, I was beaten practically daily. And then I did it to Breandan. He started in martial arts at about 4 years old, and it will harden you. It makes your spirit iron. It steals you. But I don't see that happening a lot. Even the modern martial artists, with the exception of like some MMA classes, they're just kicking and punching the air and having a good time and winning their belts. It's
Jiu-jitsu is one, just with the exception of a lot of sport jiu-jitsu, which it does get real flashy and like, you know, it's all about your sport, which makes sense. But like Gracie jiu-jitsu, it's pretty hard still. He's right. Most of them pretty soft.
Taekwondo, a lot of those classes now are so Americanized. You pay for a year's worth of classes and you're going to get a black belt. You weren't about to get a black belt in any less than about 5 to 6 years under my instructor. It was crazy.
Do you think that that ends up, you know, with that situation, that ends up changing the art of it? Like it's just not even the same thing anymore.
I do, yeah. I think you get things like the tricking I do. It comes from that that like aesthetically perfect shot is not the most effective shot, you know what I mean? But whenever you're punching and kicking air, that's all you know to work for. And so you come out with this like free form, pretty thing, not very functional.
Yeah, form without function, because it's form without understanding of application. And that's what I run into. It's like in Hapkido, we've lost the understanding of the application a lot of times because you know, you tell your students, oh, you know, flow with me so you don't get hurt. Well, if you do that enough, you're not going to know if your technique works or not. And so we're stuck with this generation of it looks good, but you know, when you grab somebody and they don't go down, what are you going to do then? Because you haven't, you know, and I know this because one of my last bounty hunting voyages was a guy who was speedballing, and he was about, you know, he was around 250 pounds. He's a big old boy. And I emptied a half a can of mace right down his screaming open mouth. And it was like he was just gargling. It was like,
was
I had,
Oh, thank you.
Like I had poured Listerine down. It did not affect him. And yeah, when you run into that, you go, you know something, I can hit him anytime I want to, and he won't even know it until tomorrow. Yeah, that's when you back the hell off and refigure what's is this worth my old ass, you know?
So actually, yeah. So I guess we've talked about your books. Let's go into the bounty hunting. So that was pretty wild when Bray told me that that's what you did, and I was like, wait, what? So as a bails bondsman, you basically ran a company. What was the name of the company?
American Bail Bonding.
American Bail Bonding, and with doing that, is that something that you felt that's a moneymaker, or was it something you were like, that sounds fun, I want to go do that? How'd you get into it?
It was a dare. It was a dare. I was training a group of police officers at the time, and there was a guy who had broken his probation. He was I'm not sure that I should. He was an alleged pedophile because the boy was 16 years old and they were in the neighborhood, and you know stuff happened, right? So, and then he fled because they turned him in, and he had gotten out on bail, and he was bonded out by elite bail bonding at the time. And so they would come in and they'd go, well, you know, we haven't found him, Sensei. And I'd say, well, let's just do push-ups and sit-ups and jumping jacks until somebody just throws up, okay? So about the third or fourth time, they said, look, here's the phone number of the guy who bonded him out. If you think you can find him, go do it. So it was a dare.
Wow.
So I went to Elite Bail Bonding and asked for a job. Now I was writing for the newspaper at the time. I can't recall. I was writing for a local newspaper and doing some other things, and teaching martial arts. Anyway, long story short, he said, well, you can't have that one bond. That's crazy. I've got all of these FTAs, fail to appears. You need to go find these guys. You know, we'll give you a job, but you're going to have to work, not just play around. We turned in about 40 people before we found him, and we couldn't find him because he was living as a woman.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, he was actually doing a strip tease down to his panties and bra.
Oh god.
Oh my.
Like X-ray of Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah. And his name was Ronnie. Can't remember what, it's been so long ago. I can't remember what Ronnie's last name was, but Ronnie was over 6 foot tall, and he made himself a good-looking woman. So he would tape his pecs and bring them in to form cleavage, and then he had his little bra on, and he would take his junk and tape it up behind him so you couldn't see that. And he was doing, you know, this little thing, and so you know when we finally found him. Back in that day, you actually walked him into the holding cell and put him in yourself and had them sign. It was way back in the day. And when that door slammed on Ronnie, I just got this feeling of accomplishment, so I just kept doing it. So my father had retired, and he needed something to do, and I said, why don't you write bonds? I think you'd really like. I mean, you meet some interesting people, Dad. So a few years later, we just started our own company, and we just kept going until Dad began losing his eyesight. He traded his pistol in for a pistol grip sawed-off shotgun because his eyesight wasn't good enough to, yeah.
You gotta think we're in Bullitt County, Alabama, so 99% of the population is in a shotgun trailer.
Yeah.
Right? So you just point the blind man down the trailer, and it's a solid deterrent.
Absolutely.
So we had run up on this guy kind of by mistake. We were looking for him, but we didn't expect him to find him on the side of the road walking, and we whipped in, and Dad shuffles out of his side of the car, and I get out of mine and run up around behind the guy, and we've got him kind of cornered, really, and I hear Dad rack the shotgun, ka-chunk, you know. And he said, son, I can't run anymore, so I'm just gonna have to shoot you if you run. And I said, oh God, Dad, I'm behind him. Don't shoot him. Don't shoot him, Dad. You'll hit me. So I came home and I said, Mama, Dad can't come with me anymore.
Oh my goodness. But you got the guy though, I'm guessing, right?
We got the guy. He was scared out of his mind. Because, you know, when a 70-something-year-old guy is born, you know, it's like by the time he gets to court, he'll be dead anyway. It's like if you kill him and he bonds out, he's not going to see the jail. He'll be dead before then. Oh. So you just never know what these old guys are going to do. You know. So.
Did you? What was the? I guess the interaction with like the judicial system. Like, was it something easy to deal with? You know, with all the money involved and the interaction with the people and getting out of jail. Like, how was all that?
Well, we trained a lot of the officers, and they were friends. You know, we've trained state troopers and county deputies and municipal Leos. And they were friends. And as long as I'm having to hunt them down, they don't have to hunt them down. Mm. So it's always been very friendly. You know, it's I've been pulled over before. I was, headed out and doing 70-something in a 35 because I was trying to get to this guy. We had gotten word as to where he was. I was in a long trench coat and I was fully armed. And, we've had things like that where it's like, officer, with your permission, I'll get out of the car and show you a badge and a firearm and a warrant. And inevitably, when they figure out who I am, they'll go, get your ass back in the car and go do your job so I don't have to. Because they don't want to go rushing in the door to, so as long as we kept it, no funny business, don't break into the wrong house, wait. It's better to be tactical. Whole lot better to have a roll of toilet paper in his hand than a 9mm. So wait for the light to come on in the bathroom. That's always a good one, So things like that.
I would assume that, whatever issues you run into, that they would be, pretty lenient on, let's say, you did break into the wrong house, but as long as you're not just killing people left and right, just guns blazing, like,
GTA 5.
Yeah, like, how was it? Like, was, as you said, they would let you go if you show proof, like, hey, here's my badge, I've got warrants, I'm good. But
they would know that we didn't do things like that unless we absolutely, like, the guy is right there, a few blocks away. We can't let him get away. He's got a warrant for his arrest. They know he's got a warrant. That it's in their system. And so it's not like we did that every day. It's just that's an anecdotal. It's just sort of what happens, and I've had to call them for backup a time or two. But out of 20 years of doing business, we've only had to call them twice.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and you get yourself in a situation where you didn't know that there's 30 of their friends and they're all doing dope. And everybody's got guns, but so we've had a couple of those situations.
Did you have situations where you ran into somebody that you wish you didn't have to run? like you knew the person and it was just like a kind of weird situation. It became emotional.
Yeah, a couple of times. See, when Breandan was 4, if you can believe, this little boy. One time, we started Karate for Christ. We had 120 students in the beginning of it, and a lot of these were at-risk kids. And we had a call from Blunsville, little town right down the road, and it was one of the police officers saying, was this your student? Yes, he was. Well, he's barricaded in a house. We don't want to go in because we don't know if he's armed or not. Can you come and see what you can do? And just walk up and knock on the door and announce myself. And the door opened and he hung his head and said, "Sensei, I'm so sorry." It's things like that. And I pretty much, you always have respect for your teacher, even if you're strung out. And because I respected them, they respect me. I'm not going to come in armed or anything. I'm just going to go say what happened and how did this evolve to this.
Yeah, I mean, I would assume that any situation like that would, number one, it'd be tough to handle, but also just the progression, like going forward from that, like now that person now has a history with you, and it's yeah, it might be awkward, but it's life. That happens. Like you have those interactions with people, and you don't know, like, are they going to do it again, or you now have a backlog of that person, and it happens. But I think that thinking about that, we as people have become hard on people, as unforgiving is what I mean. Not really hard, but unforgiving of people. Recently, there's a rapper named DaBaby, and he made some homosexual comments, and people were just like, "Oh, cancel." Like, he had a bunch of like big time events, like big time concerts. They're like, "Oh, cancel." They call it cancel culture nowadays. But that's something that's like, hey, people make mistakes. Like, okay, like, I get it. You should teach them a lesson, but Jesus Christ, like, like, people need to come back from things.
Yeah, definitely. I'm a big person, and like, you can say whatever you want to me, and that's fine. If that hurt my feelings, I may come back on you and I may say a little something. But what I'm not going to do is go to tell an authority, if you just said something to me. And I think that we've gotten used to that for some reason. I don't know why, but we feel like if you've hurt our feelings, that you've wronged like the universal laws, and it's just not the case. Like, we just need to go a little tougher. But I do see where you're coming from, that we're not forgiving. I think that comes from being soft, honestly, because you're selfish when you're soft. You know what I mean? So it's hard for you to take that shot and absorb it and still go forward like you're supposed to.
Yeah.
It's funny that we can't seem to live up to our own value system. The cancel culture is a perfect example of that, because back behind closed doors, God knows what anybody's doing at any one time. And so there's this little meme about hell I saw last week, and a woman was checking in. He said, "No, we don't do the fire and brimstone thing anymore. We just make people live up to their own standards. That's much more entertaining." And it's true. The cancel culture will not live up to their own standards, and it just pisses me off.
I mean, it's something that people have been making mistakes since the beginning of time, and I don't know how we haven't perfected the idea of forgiveness. Like, it's a very simple concept.
Yeah, it goes back to the religious problems that we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, once you do something like, as you said, that kid, he's barricaded this house, and you're his sensei. You come up to the door and you see him, and instant shame came upon his veil, a veil of shame, because he was like, this is the person who I've been so loyal to, and they've taught me things, and now it's like I can't live anymore. Like, I can't look this person in the face, and I'm useless now. But it's like, no, you need to, hey, he's there to pick you up and there to help you keep going, instead of doing what you're currently doing. And that's the problem with today's culture. They're like, oh yeah, no more of you.
Oh yeah, it's kicking when you're down. It's you made a mistake, so I'm going to destroy you. I think it makes them feel more powerful.
Yeah, we have a lack of intimacy as a society, I think, because of social media and that kind of thing. So we just, I do it. Like I'll see a couple posts from somebody and I'll start thinking a certain way about them until I realize, like, man, that came on Facebook post. What are you doing? I have to tell myself that.
I think a big thing is also in like impulse, like as you're saying, like you look at Facebook and you see something on Facebook. Guess what? You can instantly leave a comment and instantly react to it. And it's like, Facebook needs to have a thing where like after you post, nobody can say anything for like an hour. and then they can make a comment. So it's that instant gratification of, oh, let you know how I feel. And it's like, wait a minute. Like, think about it first.
Yeah. It's a breakdown of the hierarchy. And hierarchies are looked down upon these days, but they came upon for a reason, right? Not everybody can be the boss. We have to have workers. We have to have somebody with direction. And it's just a total cluster all the time, on social media.
Yeah, that's true. Everybody wants to be king.
The last podcast I did with a guy, we were talking about how people just feel like they deserve information, and I was telling him a story about there's a rapper named MF Doom, and he's a very like different kind of thinking kind of rapper, and he lived in I think England for like a while, and when I think it was either early this year or late last year, I heard the news on Twitter that he had died. And I was like, oh my God, MF Doom's dead. And then I'm searching everywhere to make sure it's accurate. And then the report came out that he had actually died like 4 months or 3 months earlier. But his family just told people that he died at that time. So let's say it was November. I don't remember what month it was last year, but let's say he died in November. Well, he had actually died in like August, but the family just told people he had died in November because they, just decided to withhold the information. And instantly, when people found that out, they were outraged. They were like, why didn't they tell us he died? Like, they're ungrateful. And I was like, that's not even your family. Like, their family.
When I stand me in a corner and just don't tell anybody.
Don't tell anybody. That just smells like that. I don't know.
It's like a weekend at Bernie's.
But yeah, that is crazy. I mean, the family just wanted a chance to grieve.
Yeah. We think that we deserve a whole lot more than we really do. It's none of their business what that family wants to release or not release. That's theirs.
Absolutely. And I was talking with the guy, and we were just talking about how people just feel entitled to information about celebrities and just knowing everything, and which nowadays, a lot of information is out there. Google is the all powerful way of just knowing anything you need to know instantly. So, I mean, it has, I guess, crippled our ability to just have patience and also to just not feel like, you need to know everything about everybody, which, half the time we're giving our information out with like, where did you go to high school? What year did you graduate? we're just willingly filling out these surveys about ourselves, our mother's maiden name and all that. But I mean, it's something that I think about is it's troubling, but at the same time, it's kind of funny that we have developed into that kind of mindset because people love their privacy, but yet they love to know everybody else's privacy.
Have you considered the fact that we're devolving?
Okay.
Our brains used to be bigger.
Yeah. So Bray, this would be good for you. Does your dad know about Dragon Ball?
Probably.
Okay. So
yeah.
Okay. So Dragon Ball Z even from Dragon Ball Z, GT, the whole series. So the funny thing about that show is that all the characters they're different species or whatever races. They're different races. So there's the Saiyan race. So the usual Saiyans from the planet Vegeta, they have tails. They look like people, regular humans, but they have tails. Now their ultimate form is when they turn into a gorilla. It's a massive gorilla, and it's called the Great Ape. And I was like, that's so interesting. Their idea of your greatest form is a gorilla, which our idea is that's where we came from, not where we are evolving into. And I was like, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is.
It is, but I mean, I don't know. What does every like 22-year-old dude want to be that's in the gym? Pretty much.
a massive gorilla.
Pretty much.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. It's an old book, but at the end of the book, they go, well, the rats are here running experiments on us. They're from a different planet. They're the intelligent life form.
So, what is the size of, I guess, well, there's chimps, and then there's monkeys, and then there's orangutans. I don't know what they are, but then we have like gorillas. Like what is, I guess, like a gorilla's brain size? I don't even know.
I think they're like roughly the same size. And I'm not an anthropologist or anything, obviously, but same size to like body ratio is pretty close. But its surface area, I think it's how many like wrinkles it has. It makes a big difference. Once you get to like that close a relative.
Have we done studies to find out like what's the smartest of all like chimps and monkeys? Like, do we know?
Yeah, I don't know.
I know this is crazy, but there's been clans of chimpanzees like making aggressive passes at certain villages, and I think it's like Central Africa. I don't know the exact countries.
At people, like humans?
Yeah, I mean in villages, man, and they're like they seem organized. They'll have some come out of the trees and some carry sticks on the ground, and they go after women and children, dude. Like it's very
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, it's very seems organized, like crime chimp mob style.
Oh my god,
it's terrifying.
I've known. I know that they've shown the videos of how they've been giving animals tools and seeing how they use the tools, and I've even seen they gave like a bird. They gave a bird a tool, and it figured out how to use. It was looked like a hook, and then it ended up being able to retrieve something out of a container by using the hook. So like animals are smart, but is maybe who knows what the future holds. People talk about like what was that movie? Interstellar, and how in Interstellar there's the idea that aliens are just us in the future coming back here to like relay a message or something. And
that's one of the theories of UFOs is that it's us. I mean, look at it. The usual, the normal male right now is down about 40 to 60% of his sperm count. If we drop another 20%, we're going to go extinct. I mean, we've gotten to the point now where our sperm count has dropped fast enough, far enough, to where when it drops any further, we will have trouble conceiving. So we're poisoning ourselves, and it traces back to plastics and things like that, which mimic estrogen. And so, what if these UFOs are us from the future trying to figure out how not to go extinct? How to, the probes may actually have a reason, Yeah. So could be us.
Yeah. And, people talk about the way an alien, the stereotypical alien looks is small body, massive head. And they think maybe it's because we start using more of our brain and less of our body. We are.
But there's a problem with that. We've got the female will have to evolve. The reason that our heads are no bigger than they are is because we can't fit through the birth canal anymore. If we get any bigger. Breandan's head I've got a little pinhead. He and his mother have these big heads. I'm always telling them if they use their capacity, they're much brighter than I am. But the female will have to evolve in some way to allow the children, the offspring, to evolve. As far as brain size goes, we're topped out.
What about C-sections?
Right. Well, that's not exactly natural, but yeah.
So do you? I mean, do you think that would become necessary, like over time?
Isn't there like a French bulldog? A lot of those have trouble giving birth to its offspring anymore.
I think dogs is a great place to look as to how we can, you know,
You have to do a C-section. On
yeah,
something
you
that breeds.
can, yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're smart enough, you can keep species going, but you'll always need those things, those extra resources. Maybe cone heads.
Yeah, yeah. grow out, not around. Yeah.
God, what is the name of that show? There's some show on Netflix. The concept is we have figured out how to save our entity, like everything that you are, and you can like download it, and then you can
Altered carbon.
yes, alter carbon. What do you think the chances of that are?
I think that it would. I don't know. In the society we have right now, whoever makes it isn't going to want everybody beside them, right? Because nobody
yeah.
likes everybody.
Oh yeah.
And so it's going to turn out to be like a top 10% thing or something like that. And I think in effect, you would have a mass extinction if you, depending on how you thought about it.
So in Alter Carbon, it was only rich people who could do it because they were the only people who could afford it.
Right. That's pretty much what I would think would happen.
I invested in a company called Array. They're an Australian company, and they are involved in creation of quantum chips at room temperature, which is what you have to have. I mean, you can't. We've got quantum chips, but you have to have liquid hydrogen to make them work. They're superconductors that work at absolute zero practically. This company is trying its best to do this with chips that can run off. Just plug it into your computer, and your computer becomes a quantum computer, that kind of thing. At that point, we're no longer binary, and at that point, then we can start talking about what you're talking about. We're no longer stuck in a binary world. We'll be 8 times that immediately. It's we'll go right now. It's 2, 4, 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 5, 12, blah blah blah. But when you start doing quantum states, the numbers go astronomical. If you can get 100 quantum bits, 100 qubits, you've got more potential memory than there's capacity on Earth for right now. Then you can talk about sentient machines, and you can talk about capturing consciousness.
Do you think that we need to, I guess, reach a certain point as humans before we have access to that? Like, I don't know if y'all have paid attention to Tom DeLonge. Bray, have you?
Who's that?
So Tom DeLonge is actually the lead singer from Blink-182. But he actually is the owner of a company called, what's the name? To the Stars. It's To the Stars Academy. And this is crazy. You're gonna want to look this up. But he was on a Joe Rogan podcast. But he was talking about how he has done information and research on UFOs and aliens and all this stuff. But he was talking about how the government wanted him specifically to release info about all the UFOs and alien research that the government has done because of how he could do it. He was like, I have the ability and I perform the service to release this info because the government just doesn't know how to do it. And that's believable. Like, I believe the government really would suck at releasing information to the public about something as crazy as as aliens. But you know, they've done it with the Navy videos that have surfaced about Dr. Fravor or Commander Fravor, who saw that UFO. They called it the Tic Tac. But do you think, going back to my question, do you think that we need more time? Like, you think that knowing about these kinds of technologies that we could, like, alter carbon type stuff, like, is that 100, 300, 500 years down the road, or is that, you know, Elon Musk style, like, when he hits 80, like, yeah, we're there. Like, do you think that we need more time for that kind of stuff?
You want to take this first, and then I'll follow up.
Yeah, I can. I mean, I think we touched on this a little earlier. I think we need more time. Just when you get to that kind of frontier, there's no space for bad movements. You know, everyone has to be very methodical, and everybody has to have a purpose. And we're not there yet. Like, we can't even hold down a job here. You know.
So I totally agree with that. The problem is that I don't think that we're going to give ourselves more time. I sit under a brilliant doctor of physics, Dr. John Medeiros, who told me that he believed that the sentience would come by 2024. And you know, he's talking about the singularity, where a machine wakes up and has you know, it's self-aware
Consciousness.
yeah, and to do that, of course, you have to, I believe, be in a quantum machine to do that. I think that's how our neurons work in their very basis. They're quantum, and they're not binary. That's for sure.
Who is that? Watson, the IBM computer? That's the quantum.
Yeah, that's the AI. Well, it's not quantum. It's just AI.
Oh, okay.
It's a artificial intelligence learning algorithm. But here's the issue. We're always running ahead of our morality. I mean, Oppenheimer, when he saw what he had done with the bomb, quoted the Gita and said, "I am become death." And I think that's the way it's going to be. Eventually, we're going to hit a wall where we rush headlong, surpassing our ability to control what we created.
Yeah, that the whole, once you create it, how do you shut it off? That's the, and when do you shut it off? Like, when do you know that a robot's gone too far? Like, how do we decipher that difference of this thing I created is doing enough to protect people, or has it gone too far? And then once you have figured it out, if you got a smart enough robot, it's going to figure that out too. Like the movie Stealth. Have y'all seen that movie?
Yeah, sure.
So for everybody who's watching who hasn't watched the movie Stealth, so in the movie Stealth, they have 3 of like the best fighter pilots in the U.S. and they the lead character of the movie, he's doing a mission and his command is telling him to stand down, don't continue the mission, it's too dangerous, but he makes the decision to do it anyways. Well, there's another airplane that is completely AI, like it's a computer flying itself, and it pays attention to everything that lead character does, and it realized that he said, "Hey, I'm ignoring what my command is telling me to do because I think I have a better idea," and then later on, the AI plane does the same thing, and that is what's like that movie came out in like the early 2000s or something like that, but that's what's going to happen. I know it's going to happen.
Pretty much.
So as long as we control the power source, we can, you know, we're the masters. The moment that we make it self-sufficient, we've lost it. So the idea of what was that Terminator movie? They put the AI in space, and what's it called, Space Net or something like that. I can't remember what.
Oh, Skynet.
Skynet. Well, see, it was run by solar. It was completely self-sufficient. You couldn't turn it off. You know, note to self: don't do that.
That's what we'll do.
Yeah,
It's so convenient. That's why we'll do it.
yeah. It'll never be unplugged. Let's just throw it up there.
Yeah. Nobody will ever have to get up and go gas it up or anything.
That's right.
It seems like any kind of technology we come up with, we should just talk to movie directors first and be like, how would this play out?
There's a lot to be said for that, because the government does hire a group of writers and they keep them on staff, and they just generate scenario after scenario after scenario of what could happen.
Oh, wow.
We published a book not too long ago called Coup de 12. It's by David Martin, Dr. David Martin. Now, Dr. Martin's appeared before Congress several times, and this book is a scenario of a world war started by a renegade faction, just a few people, just a dozen people, and they went into the Middle East and they set up a nuclear device and they blew it up and they made it look like the neighbor was the one that did it. You can plug in the names however you want, but and then that neighbor, of course, was attacked, and then they responded, and they were a nuclear state, and so now you have half the nation, or half the world involved in a world war, and the book is a little complicated, but the scenario is not complicated, and it could happen any day. We've left enough stuff in the Middle East now. The sandbox that we left so much stuff in the sandbox that you could create a world war right now with the crap that we left. It's just stupid.
And that's really the terrifying thing, is that the things that we've done over time as people, and just the different generations, we just continue to just pick up where other people have left off, and it's like, hey, stop doing that. Like learn it.
Perfect example is the Middle East, because Russia was there forever. It just about bankrupted them. They didn't get anything out of it. They got their butt handed to them, because these guys are like they're like spiders. They just crawl underground and hide until the pressure's off, and they come out and they start fighting again. So Russia went through that. We thought we could do better. The moment that we release the pressure, now they come back up again. It's look, if you read the Quran, you understand what they're doing. I mean, they are following the laws that were laid down. They're 700 years old and they haven't changed, but they're still following. Well, I say 700, I'm sorry. They came from 700 AD and they haven't changed. So they're following this code that's not altered, and they're still sticking to the word, the word of the law. So if they're fundamentalism in any religion is dangerous. It doesn't evolve. It doesn't grow. It doesn't take into account different scenarios, or it's hard. It is what it is.
So, absolutely. I think that, once we, I guess, get a better grasp, like as you said, like if you read the Quran, like how many government officials are are paying attention to literally an instruction sheet for the
game plan.
I wish we knew what they were doing. Just
read the book.
I think when you get to some people at that level, they've operated probably by themselves mostly for most of their lives at a level that everybody else kind of fell by the wayside because they were just outworking them, if I had to guess. They're just, I feel like it's kind of funny catch-22 that they make it there because they're so good, and they won't listen to anybody because they're so good they make their own decisions.
Somewhere around here, there's a book I put out, which is 3 translations of the Quran. So, if somebody's interested, they could look at that. But anyway, the main problem is that that religion believes that the last thing the prophet said was what stands. It doesn't change. It's like, whatever he said last, that's what we continue to do. And one of the last things he uttered was the verse of the sword, which is the one that says, if that you go out and you try to convert them, if they don't convert them, then you kill them. And here's how you kill them: you cut off their hands, you cut off their heads, blah blah blah. So they're following the word of their scripture. It just simply hasn't changed in all this time.
Do you think that there is something that I guess that we're missing as people from I guess our past experiences that we could definitely learn from today? Like it could be knowledge, it could be an ability to just do something. Do you think that we have over time just lost this ability to do this thing or know this stuff?
I'm not too clear.
So a lot of people say like the pyramids, they say that that's something that is like a lost ability or a lost knowledge. Maybe at one point we knew how to do it, and then now we just don't. Do you think that that's happened to us?
Yeah, I do. So the majority of religions on the planet have just a couple things in common. If you strip away all the commentary, you get down to what actually Jesus did and what he taught. It comes down to two things. Get up. He said that a lot, basically. Get up. A woman's caught in adultery. Get up. Don't do it again. You get knocked down, get up. The other thing he said was just be kind. Just treat people the way that you want to be treated. There's a great rabbi who was Hillel was his name, and he was preaching to a group of rabbis that were about to go out and begin their duties. They had just graduated, basically, and he stood before them and he said, treat others the way that you want to be treated. Seek God. The rest is commentary. Now go do it. And so, when it comes right down to it, that's what Jesus said. Everything revolves around two commandments, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. The rest of it is commentary. We can't do that. That's what we've lost. I mean, we've lost the ability to have compassion and empathy. We've surrounded ourselves, like Breandan said, with this technology that allows you instant barbarism. And I think if we want to become human beings, we close the damn laptop and turn off the phones and talk to each other, which is ironic because where are you right now?
Yeah, that's how we're communicating.
Yeah, I talked about this earlier. Talking about the external versus the internal. The older religions are internal, and they're a lot kinder in general because, they focus only on themselves and only on their actions, right? Yeah. And how they affect others. Whereas the others that focus on the external are very destructive because they're just focusing on, they don't even know what they want. They're just trying to please something.
Yeah, they're trying to do the law.
And we're doing that now, at OnlyFans, Facebook, social media. We have an external world.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to get better, go internal. My martial arts instructor, and this is my 50th year. I retired a couple of months ago because I reached my 50th year and my body doesn't want to do this anymore. But he said, I refuse to raise fighters. A warrior is a balanced individual. So he encouraged us to write poetry, learn how to play an instrument, do something that would balance the violence that he had inflicted on us. And he did. He produced some good individuals, some balanced individuals, and we don't have any balance anymore.
I think that's a very true statement, and I think boredom can be something that derives from if people aren't active enough, like in the times where you had to go out and hunt for your food, or you had to go out and get crops and plant and reap and all these things, like you were just busy from sun up to sundown.
Idle hands.
Yeah, yeah. Now
Yeah.
people have time to do things, and that's not always the greatest.
No.
Yeah, it gives them time to do things that they shouldn't be doing, and eventually they just, I guess, lose the ability to be, as you said, be kind, be patient, be generous to other people, and it's just weird. Like, it's weird for people to act that way.
Maybe it's hard being rich, you know. We're always so hard on politicians and rich folks because they always do this crazy stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, shoot, they got nothing but time, and people always probably just offering crazy stuff to them. It's probably pretty easy.
You can shoot me if you want to, but I believe that the human race doesn't. It doesn't prosper. It doesn't thrive unless it has obstacles. Yeah. Just, we are at our best when things are tough. We're at our worst when things are easy.
Mm-hmm.
I find myself, we've got a compound here. You've been to the house. You know that we've got, a house and a guest house and a dojo and a hangar and I find myself just kind of wandering around the compound, wondering what to do next because I don't write anymore, and I don't have right now an aim or a goal, and I don't have to strive like I used to. So I'm not producing anything for society right now.
You got to be a Facebook warrior. That's that's your next goal.
And look, I had the 5,000 followers and all this stuff, and I closed it down because I couldn't take the turmoil. I am basically a person who wants to be by themselves. Breandan got that from me. Put us in a room and throw us some meat from time to time. We're fine. We're good. We're gonna crunch numbers. We're gonna do research. We're gonna not worry about other people.
Yeah. And I think y'all's personalities could be said like the most extroverted introverts or the most introverted extroverts. It's you do well with around other people, but that doesn't mean you always want to be around other people. You just I think some of the best introverts can appear to be extroverts because they spend so much time with themselves, understanding themselves, that they can do well around other people. And then sometimes people who don't know themselves enough, we have people who always need to be in a relationship, like they're always dating somebody. They aren't always mentally there because they're just always dependent on that other person. If they just took time to just be by themselves, they'd do better, I think.
I would say that we're introverts, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I think you hit it. I have extroverted tendencies, but I'm definitely an introvert. It gasses me out to stay with people for so long, and that's kind of my measurement. If when you're down, do you want to be by yourself or do you want to go out and see your friends? That's kind of my differentiation.
Yeah, and keep in mind that introvert and extrovert, according to Carl Jung, is not how you act, but how you process information. Look, this was proven. This is an interesting factoid, as they say these days. 9/11 happened, and they shipped out hundreds of counselors. It's a great idea. 25% of the people got worse. Why? Because when an extrovert tells a story, they leave a little bit behind. It's a relief. It's cool. I'm gonna I'm going to vent.
Mm.
When an introvert tells a story, they are forced to relive it.
Mm.
If my wife says we need to talk, I go, oh God, because it means I'm going to have to relive something that I screwed up. And, so an introvert, we process information internally. It takes us a while. We have to do it in peace. Now, thank God, she's an introvert too, as much as I am. And so when she stops talking, something's really bothering her. You don't want to push that button. You just want her to let that sand and mud settle. And that's the way that I am. And I think the way that Breandan is. We don't want other people stirring the mud. Just leave me alone.
Yeah. I think it's good.
I was just gonna say, I think that's a great way of putting it. And like you said, it's how you feel when you're down. Like, how do you, what situation do you want to put yourself into?
How do you recharge? Is kind of my thought.
Yeah, that's a great way of explaining that. Well, it has been great talking to both of y'all, but let's wrap this up. I guess we'll start with Joseph. What is everything you want to tell everybody about the billion books that you've written? How they can access all those? Give everybody all your stuff.
Well, thank goodness it's become easy. After all this time, I'm fairly well known. So if you just go to Amazon and you type in my name, a lot of the books will show up. But you can go to Fifth Estate, FIFTH Estate, pub.com. You can go to apocryphalbooks.org. But just go to Amazon, type in Joseph Lumpkin, and the list will appear. And buy one, support the cause.
Absolutely. And go get the Negro Bible, the Slave Bible, the rest of the title.
Learn something.
There you go. There it is.
Yes, buy the audiobook.
Yes, buy the audiobook.
The physical book is great too, but the audiobook specifically.
That's right. Buy the audiobook, then you'll be
you may know the
people.
voice.
Great job on that, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah, I've life is getting in the way. Been doing a ton. I literally, me and Rachel planned on going on vacation. We were going to go to like Seattle or like just somewhere. We didn't know where we were going to go. And I was like, Rachel, I want to take a week off of work and then just work on my own business. So she was like, all right, cool. So for a week straight, I started my other business that I plan on doing, like my record label with my friend. We decided to do a partnership with that, but we started that LLC. We started, connecting with other people. I did like a conference that week. I think it was last week. Yeah, it was last week. And I did a ton of virtual podcasts. Like I think I did like 9 or 10 podcasts. Like that was my off week. That was my vacation to just do more work. But I enjoy every bit of it. It's fun just doing, just doing as a person, just live life. Because and I was thinking about this the other day. I was like, people always say you only get one life, enjoy it and stuff. But if you think about it, you're not going to be happy when you're dead. You know what I mean? Like, like you don't think back like, oh man, look at all those things I did. Like, it's just you enjoy life. You enjoy the now. Like, take advantage of the now. That's what's really important. Bray, you got anything? Are you promoting anything right now? What do you got?
I don't do much right now. I have a 9-to-5 that treats me very well, and like I'm not trying. Like I'm stressed out, and I busted my butt so long that I came out with a lot of health problems. Man, I was trying to recover, and I've just now gotten healthy again. So like I'm boring, but I'm boring on purpose.
Yeah, I plan to be more boring in time. Yeah.
And you stopped fighting? Yeah, have you? You're still tricking though, right?
Yeah, I trick about once a week. I've been thinking about getting back into jiu-jitsu. I take like a class every now and again, and I'll talk about it like nonstop for 2 or 3 days until everybody's telling me to shut up, and and then I decide I don't have time to do jiu-jitsu. But I'll stop making excuses. You're saying, I'm sure.
Were you just teaching Hapkido? Was that the only thing you were teaching?
I mean, I taught. I don't know, like how we do Hapkido is kind of so blended in. It's hard to differentiate things, but I mean, we did striking at each other. We would close the distance. We throw. We'd submit. We do the whole thing.
Okay.
How we got there was depending on the body style.
Yeah, yeah. Well, alrighty. Thank you for everybody tuning in, and we'll see you next time.